Now, please join me in welcoming Michael D. Ham from Pure 365, this morning's presenter.
Good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here with you all. I want to start off by thanking Wes and Deco for sponsoring the session. And today, just to give you a little background on my history and how I came to be here, I majored in kinesiology and majored in nutrition, so I've always been interested in human wellness. And I started off my career as a secondary school teacher, but moving on from there, I've worked at an organic farm. I've been part of the biophilic design industry. At the time, we didn't know it was called biophilic design, but it was pretty much about bringing nature indoors and getting people to connect with nature. And about 6 years ago, my colleagues and I, we started an inspections company because we wanted to, testing and inspections, we wanted to get into homes, help people figure out what was causing certain ailments like asthma, allergies. We would go in and do mold tests, we do air quality tests, and we would recommend solutions. And we were getting into more and more homes, and around that time, smart home technology started to come to the forefront with things like the Nest thermostat. So we made a decision to kind of pivot and also offer these modern technologies to these homeowner clients of ours. And we actually started supplanting our inspections business and became a full-fledged smart home company. But because our DNA was wellness, we always tried to incorporate wellness into our smart home offerings, especially being able to optimize air and water quality. So 6 years on, what I can say is that in the very beginning, people really didn't understand. They didn't understand the need for indoor air and water quality solutions in their homes. But probably about 2-3 years ago, we started to see a convergence of smart home and healthy home coming together. More and more people started to ask about it. And I'm going to share some of the data with you and why that came to be. Today, you folks are all in the multifamily area trying to figure out how to bring more value to your clients. So today I want to go over exactly what a healthy home is, what type of value it can bring to your clients, and other research studies on why it's really relevant today for you to think about and to consider as you move forward. So, what constitutes a healthy home? I mean, I'd like to have some interaction. Just you could just blurt out. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think healthy home or you hear healthy home? Clean. Yep, definitely. Good air filter, air quality. Maybe one more. Water. Okay, there's a reason why air and water are constantly at the forefront of wellness in the home. But as we move into the topic of healthy home, let's first talk about what health is. So this doesn't encompass every aspect of health, but it gives us a very good picture of the variables, the key variables of health. And on this slide, I put 2 check marks in areas where you can have an immediate impact on a family that purchases the homes that you build. I put 1 check mark for things that can be, things that we can consider. So obviously, number 1, genetic variances we cannot control, but when it comes to environmental toxins, we can certainly control that in your building projects. Number 3, trauma. This is an area where for aging in place projects, more and more people are, it's a growing market where children of the elderly, they don't necessarily live with their parents, but they want to make sure that they're okay at all times. So there are sensors now that can detect if someone falls and immediately be able to contact them and see what's going on. What you eat. Have any of you on the floor, have you seen the GE profile vent hood with the screen? I thought that was one of the most interesting products at the event yesterday. You can actually socialize while cooking now with other people, cook the same dishes, share menus, cook at the same time. Very interesting if you haven't seen it yet. So the home can definitely get into aspects of eating in the home now. What you drink. let's put alcohol aside, but at home, what we refer to what you drink is really what how you consume the water in your house, either tap water, predominantly the tap water and what's in it, and how can we make it so that the water in the home is actually better than bottled water quality. How you exercise is a key component of health activity. So I'm sure in a lot of your projects you have fitness centers. Those are things to consider. How you rest for wellness and the healthy home. Sleep quality is extremely important. In some of the keynote speeches and other big presentations during this event, we heard a lot about circadian rhythm. So that's another big area with home health. What you breathe is probably the number one aspect of wellness in the home, the air quality, because we've been building the last 20 years through the green movement. The envelope being so tight, it just keeps all the toxins in. So how do we take care of those things where it doesn't impact our health? And the last point, what you think. So it's certainly an important factor for health. A lot of, I read an astounding study that for the first time in decades, actually, I think in 100 years, the life expectancy of Americans has decreased the last 3 years. And why is that when medical technology has increased, access to medication and treatment has gotten better? It's really the main reason behind that is suicide and depression. So we're living in a world where we're disconnecting from each other. So it's kind of a contradictory kind of thing to think that we're connecting everything in the home, but that those connections are taking us away from our connections with each other. So there's a better way to do it, I think. So those are things that we're going to talk about. So when we look at, how many of you guys live in a large city? Put your hand up. Probably most of us, right? So you'll be very surprised by this stat from the World Health Organization. 91% of people living in cities do not breathe safe air. This is also a very interesting study that came out of the WHO and the UN. So the number one disease in the world is actually cardiovascular. The number one type of cancer is lung cancer. We have 4 different diseases and ailments here, but the red indicates what air pollution is responsible for. So out of all lung cancer deaths, 29% is attributed to air pollution. It's an astounding number. So out of strokes, 24% is caused by air pollution. 25% of deaths from heart disease is caused by air pollution. You never would have thought that air pollution had such a big impact on human health. 43% of deaths from lung disease are attributed to air pollution. So why is this the case? Why is air pollution so bad? We don't see air. We don't see the air. So what in the air and what aspects of this pollution are actually causing harm to our bodies, where now in America, 1 in 2 people are affected by cancer. That's like half this room, right? That's an astounding figure. So when we have poor air quality, especially with tight homes that aren't ventilated right, what exactly happens? What I can say is medical research studies now show that air pollution affects almost every cell in the body and every organ in the body. So you have emotional changes, respiratory, cognitive, physical issues. So when we talk about air quality solutions, what is the actual benchmark we want to attain when we're offering these types of solutions to our clients? So a lot of you may have heard about PM 2.5. If you have an iPhone and you pull up the weather app, now at the bottom, you'll be able to see the AQI, and it's based on PM 2.5, which is the size of the particles in the air. So if the air quality is good, it means the particle count is very low. If it's like orange level or very bad, it means there's a lot of PM 2.5 in the air. So if you look at this screen here, PM 2.5, those are particles that enter the body and go down to the lower respiratory tract. That's going to cause asthma, allergies, coughing. But the real danger, and PM 2.5, what I can tell you is it's the tip of the iceberg. Everything below the water are smaller particles, and they're called ultrafine or nanoparticles. And ultrafine particles are the size of 0.1 microns. And this is what really does the damage to human health, because it actually gets through your lungs and into your bloodstream, and these dangerous particles are going all throughout your body. And that's why in the previous slide, it shows how it impacts pretty much every aspect of your health, every organ. So what we want to think about is, how do we prevent as many ultrafine particles from being breathed in by, by us? So water is the second most common concern amongst homeowners when they think about the wellness of their home. So what's the benchmark for water quality solutions? Just a show of hands, how many of you guys purchase bottled water for consumption? Put your hand up. Yeah, until a little while back, I also only bought bottled water. I would never drink tap water, because I knew of the studies and what was in the water. Recently, Flint, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, we know that tap water has issues, right? And when cities actually test the water, and you are able to access those reports on the city website, that's water tested at their treatment plant. It's not water tested at your tap. And anything can happen between the treatment plant and your tap, as we can see from Flint and New York, where the lead is being leached into the water. And there was no real major warning. So a lot of kids who are most susceptible to these toxins, they're getting all types of ailments. And it's really sad. And the parents are obviously really upset. So how, as builders of multifamily homes and clients who have children, how do we resonate with them and to show that the value that you bring in terms of caring for their health and wellness? So what we want to think about is, any water filtration system, you want to have it at a level that's better than bottled water quality, so no one ever has to buy bottled water. It's expensive. And also there's the environmental impact of single-use plastics. So, I mean, this is where I really want to give you some more insight. Like, do home buyers and renters actually want a healthy home? Is this something that you should be taking a closer look at? There's a lot of studies that have been done in the past several years, mostly last year and this year, and I wanted to share some of this data with you. So, this was a study done last year. So the top two reasons for priorities of spending money on the home, one of them was making my home healthier. That's a huge thing. 68% believe that their home has a moderate to strong impact on their health, but they just don't know how to deal with it, right? That's where you guys can come in. 65% are at least somewhat concerned about indoor air quality. That's 2/3. And this is the biggest statistic I think you would be interested in. 83% are willing to pay more for a healthier home. 83%. If you look at this chart, this shows among renters, millennials, families with children, the rate of people concerned about their home posing a health issue is the highest in the age range of 25 to 33. Just look at the burgundy chart, how it starts and goes really high with millennials, and then it starts to dip down over time and into the senior age range. And on the right, you can see that people with children are even more concerned. Makes sense. We all want what's best for our children, and we want to protect them. And the interesting stat on the very left is that renters are actually more concerned about the health of their home than owners. I guess because owners have more control, whereas renters, you're moving into a space that you had nothing, you had no control over. So this is kind of what I was speaking on before, but we've started to see a convergence between healthy home and smart home a little while back, a couple years ago. And if you look at the pattern of smart home adoption, it's very similar to the concerns people have about the health of their home and the age range. So it's a very similar pattern. So 25 to 34 is really the age group that is most concerned about healthy home and also smart home device ownership. This is very interesting. So this tracks Google searches from 2004 all the way up until this year. The light blue indicates Google searches for energy efficiency, and the orange shows Google searches for non-toxic. So what you're seeing here is telling us that over time, especially the last few years, more people are being concerned about what they're breathing in, what they're eating, all these types of things, as opposed to energy efficiency in the home. So no one here is going to stop building more efficient homes, but now is a great time to layer the wellness aspect on top of the green aspects of energy efficiency. So this is a study by Harvard University at the Joint Center of Home Studies. And this study showed that indoor air quality and water quality are the top two concerns for people as it pertains to wellness in the home. There are other things here like lighting, noise, and we see these as becoming more prevalent over time, but right now, indoor air and water quality are their top two. So what I would urge you is, if you're still not sure about wellness, definitely indoor air and water are maybe two things that you can start off with to get into the space and bring more value to your clients. So this is a little, to put it in a very simple way, the blue on the very left are symptoms of illness, and the orange is information that people get from the internet and media. So when people look at low VOC paint, smart home, air filtration, ventilation systems, they are not relying on their doctors to tell them what's best for them in the home. They're actually relying on how they feel in the home. So if the air quality is not good, they're not going to feel good, so they're going to look for solutions, or what they read from the internet. And I can tell you in the last couple of years, the exposure, the media exposure as it pertains to indoor air quality and water quality has skyrocketed the last couple of years. That's another reason why people are asking for these features and solutions in the places that they live. Case in point, on the left, the first question was, are homeowners more knowledgeable about healthy home projects than they were 2 years ago? 85% said yes. On the right, who generally starts the conversation about installing healthy home projects? 4 or 5 years ago, it was not a lot of people. But now, 36% frequently start this conversation. You don't even have to bring it up. They will come to you as their prospective builder, and they'll ask, do you have any healthy home features in your home? And you have to be ready to answer. And 46%, the companies routinely initiate this conversation, and the consumers are receptive to that conversation. Now, this is the big question for you guys. Will homeowners pay more for healthy home features? So the Global Wellness Institute is I think one of the leading nonprofit think tanks and research entities. They do research on a global scale, and I think it's important for all of you to read this report. It's this thick. It's done very intricately, meticulously, and you get a very good idea of what the market is by reading this report. But I've summarized it down to these 2 points. Buyers have demonstrated that they are willing to pay more for healthier built environments. That's a conclusive, it was one of the main conclusions to this report. And the wellness lifestyle real estate developments positioned at the middle and upper ends of the market are achieving home sales price premiums from 10 to 55% over comparable regional properties. The major range is 10 to 25, but they've seen up to 55%. So people are willing to pay more for, but what is the exact demand? Is it worth getting into wellness for you guys? Global surveys show fast rising consumer demand for healthy homes. An American Live survey of American households with incomes over 75K revealed that 25% are already very interested in living in a wellness community. Now, the big problem is that this translates into 1.3 million potential buyers in the US, but it's a number that greatly exceeds supply. There's not enough supply. And this is where you can come in, right? So how do you actually market a healthy home? We call this a double bottom line, right? A double bottom line, which means that you want to engage in projects and things that bring benefit to your bottom line as a business and to the bottom line of your client. So what are these two cases for wellness lifestyle real estate? The business case, this is your business case. Wellness real estate is a sizable industry poised for rapid growth. You can see by 2022, the numbers go from 134 billion to 197 billion. There's definitely a growing trend. And as I just mentioned, buyers are willing to spend more for wellness amenities in their home. And the global pipeline of wellness lifestyle real estate projects is constantly growing. So we have a lot of foreign investors in the US. If they're getting access to wellness amenities in the countries they live in, naturally when they come to purchase a property in the US, they're going to look for something similar. This is the second case, the bottom line for your clients. It's the wellness case. So just a little background on what the trends are. So there's healthy home, there's wellness in the home. How many of you guys have heard of biophilia? Put your hand up. Yeah, I imagine not a lot. So biophilia is really health-oriented, but the premise of biophilia is really connection with nature to bring more healthy attributes to your mental health, social health, and your physical health, that they're all tied in. We're spending way too much time indoors, 90% and above. But when we are connected to nature, it benefits our health. That's the premise of what biophilia is. A lot of people don't like that word because it's kind of similar to another one. But so we use different types of terms like biophilic design or biophilic technology, things like that. But the overarching term that you guys will probably hear a lot of, if not now, in the future, is biophilia. So these are all in one and the same, but they're just different ways of saying wellness in the home. Wellness is probably the most common term used globally when we talk about health in the built environment. Easy to say healthy home, so we know that a lot of builders use healthy home as a marketing moniker. But biophilia is something that's going to continue to trend up because of the importance of connecting with nature. And I'm going to show you a bit of projects that implement biophilia into the projects as well. So the wellness case for your clients. What are clients looking for, and how do you want to convey this to your prospective clients? The minimizing of environmental impact on human health. So the materials that you use, how you help them sleep better in their homes, and obviously things like air and water quality. The projects you build, especially multifamily, you want to be supporting behavior change for healthier lifestyles. When people see that as part of your offering, they're going to be a lot more, they're going to see a lot more value. And fostering a sense of place, community, and belonging, which is what a lot of you try to do now. These are just some recent articles I pulled up that show how quickly wellness in the built environment is trending. You can see that the real estate agent on the bottom left, he's from the LA area, but he's fully in on wellness properties to introduce to his high-profile clients. New York Times article on the top left that just came out a couple of weeks ago, talking about a high-tech system that makes homes more healthy. On the top right, you can see that home is called the healthy home. So they market it as the healthy home. And on the bottom, wellness real estate has blossomed into 134 billion industry worldwide, and it's growing fast. So healthy home conversation starters. If you're not ready to jump in right away with an offering, maybe you do a test with your salespeople to ask some of the clients that are coming in to look for a home to buy from you, just to ask these 4 questions, just to see what the temperature is in terms of interest for a healthy home. It'll be a good way for you to get that feedback. So some of the questions are there any children or elderly persons in your house? Why do we ask this? Because they're the most susceptible to indoor air quality, water quality issues. How much do you know about indoor air quality? Is that something you want to know more about? That's a very easy way to gauge interest, right? Do you only have problems breathing when you're here at your house? A lot of people will say yes. Whenever I come home, I start getting a cough and I feel congested, and it's a way to open up the conversation because it's actually what they're feeling. Do you or someone who lives here have allergies, asthma, and chemical sensitivity? Allergies, the latest statistic shows that 40% of children have allergies in the US. So if families are coming in to view your model home, this is a perfect question to ask. 40% of the children or families coming in will have allergy problems. 8% have asthma. So when you ask this question, obviously when they say yes or no, or yes, you can actually see how interested they are in healthy home solutions, like especially air quality. So main benefits of offering a healthy home: it increases customer satisfaction, which is one of your key metrics that all of you have each year. Expands your customer base. You become a differentiator in your market. And you guys are all bringing value to your clients now, like with the options, making homeowners happier, making their lives more convenient. Why would you not want to do what's best for their health, right? So what are some of the healthy home features available at this moment in time? So let's focus on air quality here. A lot of great companies out here related to air filtration. But like I said in the beginning, the key point is dealing with dangerous ultrafine particles. If you go out into the market now, anywhere, all anyone ever talks about is PM 2.5. One way you can differentiate yourselves is that you guys are focusing on ultrafine particles that actually do the most damage. It's stuff that no one will have heard about, and it can separate you from the rest. Filtration is extremely important, but there are other aspects of indoor air quality, one of which is ventilation. As I mentioned, homes have been, for the last 20, 30 years, started to become very energy efficient. But what happens is that without proper ventilation, the chemicals, toxins, the dust particles in the air, and I will tell you that the more dust you have in the home, the chemicals actually latch onto the dust, and when they become a way for the chemicals to be ingested into your body. So that's another important reason why ventilation is extremely important. Whole house humidity control systems. Why do I feel itchy in the hotel? Because it's extremely dry here. So we want this. Studies show that the sweet spot is 30 to 60%. I usually like to keep mine between 40 and 50% at home. And when it's between 40 and 50, you don't get any mold issues, and you don't have any respiratory issues, and you don't feel dry skin. You feel great when you're at home. Stovetop ventilation. Cooking is one of the most polluted, largest pollution events that occur in a home. Studies show that when you're cooking, the air quality for about 30 minutes to an hour after you stop cooking is akin to the air quality in India right now, which is one of the worst in the world. So you always need to be able to ventilate while you're cooking to move all the VOCs, the chemicals, and the PM 2.5 out of your living space. One of the things that most people don't know about and is the most dangerous is radon. It's the second leading cause of lung cancer, most people don't know about it. So if the radon levels are high in the home, you're just making yourself susceptible to radioactive materials and cancer. If it's entering your body, at some point it's going to turn into cancer. So we always, I mean, if there's one thing that you want to do right away, it's radon, knowing your radon levels and making sure that those radon levels are low. But what can you do as a multifamily builder? You don't know what the radon levels until your whole project is built. But what you can do is rough in the radon-resistant features so that when it's tested after your project is built and the radon levels are high, you can implement the mitigation systems or fans. Everything is piped in already. That's a huge value add for your projects to ensure the safety of your home buyers. Another trend that's going on, I'm sure a lot of you being in the industry know, is going fully electric. I was speaking earlier this morning about how New York State and my home county, they stopped all new gas connections and they're pushing everything to go fully electric. So installing induction cooktops versus gas is better for indoor air quality. There's electric option too, which is a little bit better than gas, but induction, you get almost the same performance as gas without the air pollution. Garage exhaust ventilation system to prevent exposure to benzene and other toxins. A lot of people don't think about it, but there are, I think, several hundred cases a year where people forget to turn off their car in their garages. They go up, there's a slight crack open, and the carbon monoxide gets into the house. It's odorless, you can't see it, and people have been found passed in their beds. It's extremely sad. So one way is to protect people by using garage exhaust ventilation. And you guys implement all of this in your projects, but really connected fire and carbon monoxide detectors for extra protection. A lot of the units are not connected, so if you're a lone home and it goes off, there's no one that can help. But if it's connected, you can always check in and call and make sure that your loved one is safe. Moving on to water. So what is better than bottled water quality? The only technology with water filtration that will guarantee better than bottled water quality is reverse osmosis. So just like our sponsors, Deco, where they pipe in all the necessary components to do an easy upgrade, do-it-yourself upgrade, what you can do is put in the shell casing for a reverse osmosis point of view system, and then you leave it as an option for your consumers to buy the cartridges and the reverse osmosis membrane. They can simply have your provided service vendor come in and install those, and they have better than bottled water quality at their kitchen sink. It's a very easy process, no upselling required. You just tell them where the value is, and to me, it's a no-brainer. Everything is piped in. They just have to buy the cartridges and the membrane. Leak detection. Studies show that 40 to 50% of all homes have leaks. Huge, it's one of the major costs for insurance companies. I think obviously it's number one. But leak detection systems now, when they sense a leak, they can turn off the main water valve. Not only will it protect them from major flood damage, but with little leaks, what happens is mold issues. So leaks behind the wall, where there's dust, drywall, organic materials, it's going to start creating mold. And when those mold spores start to build and get into the air, that's what triggers allergies and asthma. And it doesn't provides a very uncomfortable living situation. A lot of people in the US, there's a doctor named Dr. Ann Shippey, she's a mold specialist. So many people come to her because they're sick, they don't know why. But when they do blood tests, they see mold toxins in the blood. And so when they go into the home and do tests, they find leaks behind the wall, spores, airborne, that's causing all of these ailments in the home. Leak detection system will go a long way to protect against mold conditions from forming. Rainwater recycling, there's a company here that does gray water, which I thought was great. And then these are things you probably already do about building materials, just to show your clients that you're using zero VOC paints and primers. That goes a long way. It shows that you care about what they're breathing. Things like recycled denim insulation, instead of using products that contain formaldehydes, that off-gas. Reclaimed hardwood flooring with zero VOC stain and finish throughout. Cabinetry made of solid woods, free from toxic adhesives and formaldehyde. These are all things that your buyers are starting to catch on and look for, and they're actually going to be asking you these questions. Do you use stains that are zero VOC? And you have to be able to answer it. And when you're following these practices that put their wellness at the forefront, then you can answer it and it'll resonate with them and say, wow, I can trust this builder. Energy efficiency and health. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to fly through these building features. Some of the building features that you may want to incorporate are a recycling center. Give people the option to really impact the environment around them, not only in their unit. Electric car charging stations, more and more electric cars on the road. I see in the next 5 to 10 years that it's going to really shift to electric cars. Incorporate gardens and quiet spaces. That's part of biophilia, not only in the indoor, but to give people access to nature immediate to where they live. Organically maintain plantings, trees, and grass, and indigenous plantings to minimize water requirement, another way to minimize our environmental impact. These are all things millennials think are important, and when you implement them in your projects, they're going to see great value. So here are some exciting new projects going on. Yesterday, we heard Mr. Jacob Atella, the VP of KB. I know it's a single-family home, but we heard him say yesterday that wellness is the next big thing. This is from a top 10 builder, and they're moving heavy in that area. The project on the right is I believe, a 12-story high rise next to Lake Sloan in Denver area. If some of you are from Denver, you may want to check out this project. But wellness is the focus of this project. So they have air filtration systems, they have circadian lighting, and they have outdoor spaces that people can enjoy, connect with nature. This is also a similar project in Jacksonville, Florida. Wellness is at the core of their marketing. This is an interesting $2 billion mixed-use community in the Atlanta area. If you're from Atlanta, I highly recommend you go here. It's a whole community, and what they focus on, not only wellness in the home, but the whole community. So they have restaurants that serve organic food, they have organic farms, and it's a place where you don't have to go anywhere else. You have everything within the community that you live in that caters to the wellness of you and your family. This is a development in Brooklyn, and it's a high-rise in the Flatbush area, and it's all electric. And they have a lot of healthy home futures in this building as well. They're breaking ground early next year. So how do you get started? How do I get started with wellness in my projects? So like I said, indoor air quality and water quality are really the entry points for you guys. People are looking for it right now. And then later on, what we see for wellness is biophilic design, circadian lighting, sleep quality, organic scents. We were in a home in Manhattan earlier this year, and the mother had 2 babies. And she called us because she's like, my babies are always coughing. Can you come in and do an air quality test? When we went in there, we did a count, and it was 20 million particles of PM 2.5 per cubic feet. So in a cubic feet area, there are 20 million particles of PM 2.5. So when we went in there, we saw that she was burning incense, and it was causing all of this air pollution and causing her babies to cough all the time. And so we had to sit her down and explain to her, we know that how important incense is to you, but this is what it's doing to your environment. She stopped it immediately because obviously her babies are the priority. She got a few air purifiers, and it brought it down to under 500,000 from 20 million. Her baby stopped coughing. Then she started to ask, so I like to have this type of scent in my home, but because I can't do this anymore, can I light a candle from now on, like organic or soy wet candles? We explained to her even candles, because of the combustible activity, causes major air pollution. And what we did was we steered her to organic essential oils, that, diffusing the oils where it doesn't cause that pollution, but can give a very pleasurable shot to the nasal cavity, the senses, right? Sense of smell. And a lot of you, I don't know if you've heard, but a lot of the studies with fragrances, colognes, and perfumes, out of the 2,000 chemical components in perfumes and colognes, 30% are known carcinogens. I'm sorry to anyone who loves fragrances and perfumes. We don't judge, but it's extremely important to share these facts, because then it's up to you, right? But 30% of fragrances are actually carcinogens, which was shocking to me when I first read the study. Soundscaping. It's important to, especially the bedrooms, to have it insulated from outdoor sound so that you can sleep well. But at the same time, we can use soundscaping with sounds of nature to improve the built environment as well. And that's a huge trend going on. That's all part of the biophilic movement. And then one last point here, it's something later on down the road, but environmental probiotics. When we go outside, the amount of good bacteria is considerably higher than the indoor environment, where we're using chemicals, things like that kill the good bacteria inside. So environmental probiotics is a way to balance it out for the indoor environment, replicate the outdoor environment. Okay, that's a lot of material for you guys. I'm sorry for presenting that much, but like I said, I'm happy to share my slides with you so you guys can take a closer look. I highly recommend also reading a lot of the studies that I referenced as well. It'll give you a lot of insight in what you can do. At this time, we have about 5 minutes for questions. I'm happy to field any questions you guys may have.
Sorry. Good morning. But for also affordable and/or workforce Class B housing?
Yes, that's certainly something that we're always grappling with, because we want to help everybody, right? But there's always a cost factor. So, I mean, the whole house systems are obviously more pricey, but in terms of air quality, you can get a compact system in the hundreds of dollars. Most people spend 6 to 8 hours in the bedroom, right? So you can put a compact system in the bedroom for a few $100s. And the way that we want to present it to people is that it's really an investment. It's not a cost. Because it's an investment, because if you don't put those things in place, later on you're going to pay it as a health expense, right? So really, when we try to educate our clients, it's really about how much are you willing to invest in your health so you don't have to pay for it later on. But that's something that we're constantly looking at. But for water filtration and air filtration, it's accessible with the smaller units. Any more questions?
Just want to get your thoughts on, I saw this a few years ago, basically in the air intake cavity, they had this ultraviolet lighting to help kind of with the particles and purifying the air as it's going through the chase and everything. What's your thoughts?
So studies show that ultraviolet lighting, UV lighting for water is 100% effective, kills all the bacteria, right? But for air, because it's moving so fast, it's not effective unless that UV light, the study I read, is 30 feet, which is impractical, right? The UV light is effective on top of the coils where most mold grows. So you want to have a UV light on top of the coils to prevent mold growth on that. But in terms of having a UV light to kill all the bacteria and virus in the passing air, it's pretty much, all the studies show that that's not effective. So what you want to do is you want to have a filtration system that deals with the particulates as well as the mold through an electric charge that creates microbiostasis. It stops mold, bacteria, and viruses from actually surviving when it hits that. Maybe take one more question. There's no such thing as dumb question. So feel free to take down my email. Happy to share any of the information, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you.